Oh, and it came back. That's amazing. Well, we'll try to do what we have to do. Ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation and Bills Mafia, obviously the Buffalo Bills lose a heartbreaker today, 23-20 to the Houston Texans. You are watching the Hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the Houston Texans post-game. Man, so much to talk about, guys. We have so much to talk about. And if you want to put the kiddies away and have them not listen to this broadcast, I am completely with you on that if you want that to happen. So, Paul, obviously one of our title sponsors is Mr. Rogers Homes in the description of this video. And our other sponsor is who again?
That. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, that would be betdsi.edu or edu. They're not an educational firm. Don't listen to that. .eu, excuse me. Now, as you all know, one of the things about being a fan is watching every game, living every moment, and dying with this team on the inside as they slowly whittle away your soul. But you can at least make a little bit of money with betdsi.eu. betdsi.eu has been around for 25 years, a trusted name. They know how to treat real fans like us, regardless of how our team treats us. BetDSI will always take care of you. Better odds on a great UI. Listen, BetDSI, they're going to match your first deposit up to $1,000, 120% with promo code HTAG. So BetDSI, everything you need to make your picks count. Head over to BetDSI and use promo code HTAG for that match on your first deposit.
Beautiful. Love it. And as always, you can find all of our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All episodes will be on iTunes and Spotify. So if you're listening to this in your car the next day, we apologize as well for the manner in which we are going to approach this post game, because it's kind of annoying and it's getting old.
Yeah,
it's getting really old.
I know. Hey, let's start with a great comment from Hoffins. This was a drought era special. Listen, you had less than 30 seconds to kill on the 3-yard line. Yes, Houston had 3 timeouts, but good God Almighty, let's trust our defense with our punter punting from the 3-yard line, right, or back in the end zone, right? Let's trust the defense, right?
Yeah, I got a message from Ryan Laisla. As you guys know, he's doing the bets with Joe on Wednesdays here. If you guys are watching that, I got a nice little message from him earlier. Rasul Douglas, this is from John Scott. Rasul Douglas said in the locker room he thinks Bills only had 10 players on the field for the Texans' final play that set up that game-winning field goal. Believes Dorian Williams was running onto the field and might not have known the call. Paul,
okay.
I've mentioned it on many broadcasts before, and I've talked about it. And Hashtag Nation, I think, has gotten a small glimpse of it, but they don't know really behind the scenes how unbelievably ticked off I get with clock management and situational awareness.
Oh, yeah.
I'm awful, guys. I am unbearable to watch a game with when there's timeouts that are used that shouldn't be used and whatnot. It's okay. Here, okay, first one, guys. Here we go. Josh Allen throws a pass to James Cook along the sideline. It looks like he drags his toe and puts an elbow down. You see, that's why they have those fields how they are. So you could see if something drags up. I saw all those little pebbles come up when Cook's elbow hit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking about it to the point where the play clock is down to where you're not going to get a play off, you're using a timeout anyway.
Just throw the challenge flag, right?
Throw the challenge flag, dude.
Yeah.
What are you doing at that point?
Yep.
That was, to me, one of the first things that, aside from the Kincaid catch that was in the first half that he probably should have thrown 1-2 on that one. But I digress. If you're going to use a timeout anyway, might as well get it. You know what I mean? It's free. You're using a timeout. If you lose your timeout, what? Hey, and here's the craziest part, Sean. What if you win that challenge?
Yeah.
You get to keep it. You don't take them home with you, buddy. You do not take them home with you. That's number one. Well, that's the first thing. I thought it was awful. Secondly, there are multiple high school coaches across the land that if you're in a tie ball game and you have the ball inside of your 5-yard line, with the amount of time that was left on the clock, you force the other team to use their timeouts.
Mhm.
You have to
Yeah,
force.
that's right.
So unless you get a 9-yard run on first down from James Cook, you're not throwing the ball. I don't care. I don't care what you're doing. So what you have to do,
you got to go 97 yards.
exactly, and you're not going to do it in with with the production that happened in the first 59 and a half minutes. You're
And
not
no
getting
timeouts.
that. And no timeouts.
And no timeouts. Yeah.
So here's my take on that. I have tried to defend this coaching staff with a lot of the things that they have done, and mostly some of their situational awareness doesn't cost them games. This is a game that the Buffalo Bills absolutely had no business winning at all. The way they came into it, what they were doing, everything else, all that considered. They shouldn't have won this game anyway. But the fact is, that is academic stuff. That is stuff that listen, we're going to run it 3 times. We're going to make them use all of their timeouts, and we're going to punt it out. Wherever they catch it is where they're going to have it. Okay? Unless they run it back. Right. Then they don't have time to run that little play in the middle and then call the timeout and then get a closer kick for Fairburn. They don't have time. Yeah. You go to overtime, and then let's see what happens. But to me, throwing 3 times in a row, taking less than 4 seconds off the clock, it should put the NFL and everyone else on notice of what this coaching staff, what the Bills are dealing with this coaching staff.
So here's when all that happened, right? So you have the offensive pass interference on Keon Coleman, debatable, right? Like
they're both fighting for it. I don't care.
Yeah, they're both fighting. I mean, truth be told, Keon Coleman did have his hands wrapped around the neck of the cornerback and drag him to the ground. So I mean, again,
6-1, half dozen the other.
Is a decline penalty. So. I think fans are going to look at that and say, well, that should have gone the other way. The fact of the matter is it was a decline penalty, right? I think everybody got hopeful once they saw the flag. You just kind of assumed that it's defensive pass interference, but there is offensive pass interference. That was the call. It was a decline penalty. But on third down, right, they pan to McDermott on the sideline, and McDermott is yelling at Brady saying, we needed to get a first down. Yeah, you're right. You probably did, right? But you didn't you did need to get a first down, but you also needed to go 97 yards for a touchdown. You needed to go 50 yards to put you in range for Bass. Like getting a first down, sure, it gets you out of the shadow of the end zone, but you burn the other team's timeouts. Or if maybe Houston just looks at it and say, hey, let's take it to OT. That's fine. Yeah. Let's take it to OT.
Yeah.
You don't give up the game. You make Houston decide, are we going to press to try and win the game in regulation, or are we just going to overtime? Right? Are we and it just bothers me, right, to watch, in my opinion, and you tell me, Josh gets hit, he gets folded like a lawn chair, running to his right. He went into the medical tent for concussion protocol. Mitch Trubisky hands the ball off for one play. Josh comes back in. Josh said he had a chest injury, right? His head bounced off that turf. I don't think there's any way in the world that he had all his wares about him at that point, right? He's a competitor, so I'm pretty sure he faked it pretty good.
Josh thought he was
breathing down their neck.
Josh thought he was in the 2019 playoff game against
I think he was out. I got to be honest with you, Mar. When you showed the replay, his arm was sitting on the turf like this, like he was folded.
Yeah,
and he just laid there. I think he was out.
Yeah, I thought immediately. I mean, we put it in our group chat. I was like, he's out. This game's done. Mm-hmm. I was like, the only thing, you kick a field goal, you tie it up, you try to hope your defense can hold it. And then I see him jogging back onto the field. I'm going, have we learned nothing from Tua Tagovailoa?
Right.
Have we learned nothing?
Not only that, but every play therein was in the end zone, right? Like you threw the ball to Cook, right? You didn't get that. You wasn't going to be reviewable, really. I know you said don't lose. You might as well throw the challenge flag. I agree with you at that point. You're calling a timeout anyway.
Yeah.
So I get it, right? But every play besides that one was in the end zone. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But these are the games where you miss a guy like Diggs, who's just crafty. right? Like Matt Collins is not crafty. Matt Collins runs routes like he's what was that 90s fitness machine, the Gazelle? Was that what it was? The
I
guy
don't
with the
even
really
know.
long hair. Oh yeah, yeah. It was like this sled machine, the Gazelle,
Oh
right?
no, it
And
wasn't. You probably
it was
had the
like some
knockoff version.
infomercial. Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called though.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that like you activated Terrell Shavers, but Terrell Shavers for what you really needed, Hamler might have been the play. You Curtis Samuel was a ghost. You had to have him today. He was
Mhm.
completely useless. The Bills in this screen game, it just gets sniffed out every play. You know, like
Because they're running it at times where it's expected, where you think they're going to run. Like because
yeah,
it's having a sense for. You got to have a very strong sense for when a team wants to bring pressure on you, and then it makes sense to run a screen. But
right.
the problem is, the Bills feel so snake bit by it because they run screens and there's a jailbreak on
Mhm.
Josh and he can't get it off or he can't do
Right.
anything else. And
Yeah.
not so much that. And then Mike's in the chat. He's talking about the pre-snap motion, defending screens. Why are they so abysmal at defending screens? I know a couple of them they
Right.
had, but
Mhm.
the thing that's going to get lost in the mix, and I told you this, I told you this in the chat, Paul. It's going to be funny, but nobody on national media is going to mention this, and it's going to be very interesting. The Houston Texans went up 14-3, and Nico Collins then left the game for the rest of the game.
Mhm.
They had 9 points
Yep.
after that.
I know. Yep.
And two
Yeah.
50-yard field goals as well.
Mhm.
So it wasn't so much that Allen missed Diggs. I think Stroud missed Collins. Because like with Diggs now was your number one. You got to think Diggs is default your number one after Collins goes down, correct?
Sure. Yeah, that's right.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, he put up a nice stat line, 6 for 82, but
That's typical Diggs.
they struggled. Yeah, they struggled. They struggled with Diggs being the number one there. So in the grand scheme of things, what after everyone talks about Diggs getting a revenge game or a revenge win or whatever, what did the Bills really lose not having Diggs? I think they missed Shakir more than Diggs today.
Certainly, right? Josh Allen completed 9 passes,
4 of them to receivers.
Yeah. I mean, Curtis Samuel, 1 catch for no yards on 4 targets.
That's
MVS,
not what you paid for.
No catches on 3 targets. Ray Davis even captured 2 targets, 1 catch for 4 yards. After that, Matt Collins, 6 targets, 2 catches. Dalton Kincaid, 2 drops, in my opinion. 6 targets, 2 catches. Keon Coleman, 5 targets, 1 catch. I understand the target numbers are going to look a little inflated because Josh was at times running for his life, but that's the book. Pressure him, bring pressure. And right now, the Bills don't have the horses to be able to shake free from man coverage, which was obvious early in this game. And that's what Baltimore did. And that's it. That's the book. Pressure Josh, and make him figure it out. And they were at times rushing 3 guys and spying him. Because Josh is trying to create outside the pocket. He's going to stay in the pocket so long, but when you spy him, you take away the middle of the field from him. And I think if Josh, there was a play in the end of the second quarter where Kincaid was running a seam route and Josh almost threw a pick, right?
Underthrew it.
Linebacker. Yeah, he didn't underthrow it. No, that's not underthrown. That ball was on target. He just threw it 86 miles an hour. So had that ball had touch on it, it sits over the linebacker and Kincaid's in the end zone. It's a different ball game. But Josh, he's got a fastball. And those downfield throws, those 20-yard throws, they're going to be 7 feet off the ground. He's got a cannon, and that's what happens. And it was perfectly defended, and the Bills walk into halftime having to give the ball back to Houston on the other side of that. That's really frustrating.
Yeah. But here's my take, Paul. Whatever stuff they're giving Josh at the beginning of the game to help with his broken hand, because it's broken. You can't convince me.
100% broken.
I don't care. You guys can talk about this and that and the other. He has a broken hand. I don't care what you say. Whatever they're giving him before the game, I think is clouding a lot of his decision making. I think
you don't think the concussion that he clearly got?
Yeah. No, that evidently did. But like you said, he only had 1 pass after that. and then the other 3 he was getting knocked on his keister in the end zone.
Mhm.
So if the Bills even go to overtime, I don't know about what's going on, but
Yeah.
he's at a point now where, yeah, you're right. Teams are rushing 3 and starting to spy him, and then they rush 7, and they're trying to get him to figure it out because the Bills wide receivers can get no separation. But in that respect, he doesn't really want to run it, I don't think, unless it's a last ditch effort. Because there were a couple times he got out of the pocket today. He probably could have taken off and gotten at least 4 before he slid, and he didn't. He tried fitting something in there. And it's one of those things where, hey, if I throw it, I'm going to remain upright and not have to try to brace my fall with my broken hand or take a shot into my broken hand. So it's one of those things where you look at it, okay, you want to go glass half full, Paul? You want to go glass half full here and try to see with this team? I mean, they're 3-2.
Yep.
The 2 teams you lost to, unfortunately, were 2 teams that are in the AFC. Okay, so you got 2 conference losses.
Yep.
More than likely, the 2 teams that you lost to are going to be division winners. So not only are they conference losses, they're tie-break losses for division winners.
Yep.
So you're essentially playing a wild card game already, best case scenario that goes on, unless you happen to have more wins than all these other teams, which I doubt. I highly doubt. Now, with the characters that you have on this squad, if they could stay healthy, I mean, we've seen what this defense has been able to do, especially after the adjustments they made with Nico Collins out. They did phenomenal in the second half.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I almost threw in the towel on this team when you pick off CJ Stroud, then you have to punt, and then you get a fumble, and you only get 3 points.
Yeah,
you can't get 3 points on 2 turnovers and expect to win the game the way it was.
Correct.
Yep. They kind of limited what Houston was able to do in that second half. But then again, Nico Collins was out. Nico Collins plays that whole game. I don't think the game's as close as it is.
So here's what I find so fascinating about the splits, right? Buffalo had 4 penalties for 25 yards going into halftime. They were not penalized at all in the second half. Houston had no penalties in the entire first half. They finished the game 7 for 65 with penalties. Yeah. Now, of course, Houston ends up winning the time of possession. That's not really a shock there. Buffalo had split it, but the fact of the matter is Houston, had, I know Buffalo, it was equal time of possession, but it wasn't, right? No. It wasn't. The Bills were 3 for 14 on third down, but a lot of them were more than 3rd and 6. Super outside of schedule. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Super outside of schedule. And I really think that since Josh started wearing that glove on his left hand, I am convinced that hand is broken and he's playing with a broken hand. It's not in the injury report. I'm convinced that he's doing it. Yeah. Because you look at the games, how he's played since that's happened, and the Josh Allen who is out there evading, picking up yards with his legs, on first down, on second down, the designed quarterback runs, those are gone, guys. Those design quarterback runs, they're gone. And they're gone because he can't take a hit on that hand. I'm telling you, there's something wrong. And I would be shocked if the NFL doesn't come down on Buffalo over his head bouncing off the turf at the end of the game. I'd be shocked if the NFL doesn't come down on them. They should. They should come down on him. They absolutely should.
I mean, you look at it in the grand scheme of things, Paul. 2 years ago. No, it wasn't last year. It was 2 years ago. His UCL. Or was that last year?
That was a couple years ago.
UCL. Now he's got a broken hand. Now, just for the people in the cheap seats that don't really know or follow us, UCLs never heal unless you have surgery on them, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you could do stuff to them. You shouldn't.
Playing
140
holes of golf during the summer really isn't something you should do for it.
So let me explain, right? So there was a pitcher for the Yankees, Bartolo Colon, and Colon had UCL damage, had micro tears in his UCL. And the UCL is super critical. For those of you that don't know, that's Tommy John surgery. You might be more familiar with that, right? So when a pitcher tears his UCL. That's Tommy John surgery. So people might just be more familiar with that term. Bartolo Colon did stem cell injections, not in this country because that's not legal here. Did stem cell injections into his elbow and pitched for like another 3 or 4 seasons after that at a top major at a major league level. Was he amazing? Of course not, but he was like 36 or something at that point. So that is a thing. And let's not forget, Christian McCaffrey has an Achilles injury, recently left the country to get medical treatment, probably not too far removed from something similar, right? So can you do that to bone? No, you can't, right? Can you do it to ligaments? Yes, you can. Did Josh have anything done? That cannot be confirmed.
No, but I mean, you're talking about the tread that's getting torn off of this kid. And you add the concussion. Right. You know what? Yeah. I like the comment before that.
Yeah. It was not on my bingo card. Yeah.
Thank you, Nicholas. But I mean, aside from that, let's get down to brass tacks here, Paul. Number one, Bills had no business winning that game today. Okay. No. They could have stole it and covered up some things. Sure. But they had no business winning that game today. Going down 14-3, you made a valiant comeback. You made some adjustments to try to limit CJ Stroud, but the biggest adjustment was Nico Collins electing to put on street clothes and sit on the sideline. That was the best defensive adjustment that was made for the Buffalo Bills today. Dorian Williams, heck of a game out of him. Carter played a heck of a game in that one tech. Bernard coming back when nobody thought he was going to come back and with an amazing interception. I mean, there are good things to take out of this game, Bills Mafia and Hashtag Nation.
Yeah.
However, the loss always trumps a lot of those things. Like if the Bills would have won today and we were talking about, we started off with McDermott's decision-making and his game planning, we would be crucified because they're like, they won. You guys are always complaining. No, we try to look at it through an objective lens. And then, like you lose a game by 3 points and total offense is 425 to 276. You're not supposed to be in that game. And the only leverage was that you had 2 turnovers and you didn't turn the ball over at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to call out the fact that, like, when you look at the injury report for the Bills coming into this game, I mean, it is dreadful, right?
God,
the inactives they were dreadful. So let's not forget inactive Teron Johnson, Taylor Rapp, man, Cole Bishop looked just so lost. Khalil Shakir, Ed Oliver, huge loss there. Von Miller suspended. He's not on the inactive list, but he's obviously not playing because he's suspended. And, I think Rousseau flashed at times, but you really missed Von Miller. So with Von, it's a different story. And I love Daquan Jones. I think the Bills did a good job of shoring up the defensive tackle position in the second half. They were able to get penetration in the second half. I think they did a good job there. But that first half, you were missing Ed Oliver just so bad. And I still, and I'm gonna, well, and I'm going to scream this from the mountaintops until somebody at One Bills Drives hears me. But you have James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, and Reggie Gilliam as your 4 active running backs every single week, and you just simply miss just a bigger back that can be a little dirtier for you. I like Ty Johnson, I like Ray Davis, I like James Cook, but you're missing a dynamic in that room. And, having a bigger back when you're on the 3-yard line with 30 seconds to go, wouldn't it have been great to have, even AJ Dillon? I would have gladly had taken AJ Dillon not right now. He's got a torn ACL, but had a healthy AJ Dillon, AJ Dillon is average NFL running back, average big NFL running back. I would have loved to have had an insert name of average bigger NFL running back, not 38-year-old Latavius Murray or however old he was.
No, but what I'm saying
there in that kind of a situation,
the size of a Murray that in that situation, that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I can understand that.
You have him, right? Because you have him out there. The Bills made it easy for them, right? The Bills made it easy for Houston because they're running 5 wide. And sure, you've got Knox and Kincaid out there, but you're not fooling anyone.
No.
Right? Like you're not fooling anyone there.
So Oh, excuse me. The Bills good doing this to me. Bills final tally had 4 3-and-outs for today. I think they had 12
Yeah.
possessions.
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't.
Houston averaged 8 yards per play today.
Bills average 4.1.
4.
That's always fun.
And that's actually an improvement. That's an improvement from where they were at halftime, because they were below 4 yards per play at halftime.
I mean, this game could have been awful. I mean, you think about it. You take away the touchdown to Keon Coleman. He's 8 for 29 for under 100 yards passing on the day.
Disgusting.
On the entire day.
So
it is gross. It's a lack of a play caller who is severely outmatched and then didn't make. Well, I guess on the first drive, in the second half, after they got the ball back, they made some adjustments, and you were able to do something. But by and large, you weren't doing a lot of stuff offensively that was getting through. Did Knox sides run block? I didn't see him do anything.
Single target. Not a single target for Knox.
You got MVS, you got Mac Hollins, and you got guys who just picked up off the scrap heap, getting more targets than a guy that's making how much now?
Dude, don't even get me started on MVS. So this is how much faith Josh has in MVS. It was the second quarter. It was their final possession of the second quarter. It was trips right. No. Yeah, running back motion down. So I think it was trips right with MVS up top with no safety deep. And Josh threw an under route. Are you kidding me? You've got MVS. You're going into halftime. You're not getting the ball back. You throw an under route with MVS in single coverage with no help. And you throw the under route. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Stop. Like, Jesus. They didn't even try to cover deep. And you throw the under route.
I'd love to see you up.
So frustrating.
I'd love to see you up. It would be amazing.
What
are we doing today, guys? This is ridiculous.
So mad that whole game. I love the Bernard interception. The Bernard interception was a thing of beauty. Can we just call that out first? That Bernard interception was a thing of beauty because his back was turned when Stroud started throwing it. He turns around, cuts the route. Beautiful interception. Welcome back, Terrell Bernard.
He adjusted to the ball better than Mac Hollins. You're welcome.
How are we talking about Mac Hollins?
Like,
how is this relevant?
I just don't know how Shakir is out and you get 0 targets for Dawson Knox.
Yeah.
All right, Paul.
Admittedly, and I think 2 drops from Kincaid.
Yes. I mean, well, the one wasn't a drop. He just never challenged it. I don't think that was a drop.
No, I don't think that. No, I'm not counting that as the drop.
Oh, okay. Well, 2 other ones then. Oh, that's fun. That's always fun.
Yeah.
Paul, we're about halfway through. Who's the sponsor for tonight's show?
Well, the sponsor for tonight's show is brought to you by Mr. Rogers Homes, Arizona's. No, see, you're making me do the radio voice. Arizona's #1 real estate agent. When you need a home, call Mr. Rogers Homes. Investment property out in Arizona. Hey, maybe you're looking for a home. I don't like to cut the grass. They don't have real grass in Arizona. It's all turf, guys. So get out in the sun, get in the air conditioning out in Arizona with Mr. Rogers Homes. And of course, BetDSI. BetDSI has been around for 25 years, and they are a trusted platform with live betting, every sport you can imagine. And one of the coolest UIs, one of the coolest front ends that you can find in the betting industry. Go and use promo code HTAG and get a 120% match on your first deposit up to $1,000. BetDSI.eu, promo code HTAG for a sweet deal.
And they're going to be sponsoring. That was beautiful, Paul, by the way.
Hey, there you go. Hey, Sean, what's up? Hey, timing's everything.
So we are going. BetDSI is sponsoring this next segment that we have halfway through, and we're going to try to do these more throughout the the post games that we have. We have Fix It or Forget It, Paul.
Oh, okay.
We're going to go. Obviously, I could see the chat. A lot of people are talking about give the Raiders whatever they want for Devontae Adams. I understand that, and I understand the type of player he is. If he comes to Buffalo, magically his hamstrings will be better. I just know it. But the point is this: I want to go through almost like not all the positional groups, but things that we think are the hot button topics for Buffalo.
Sure.
Do we need to fix it, or do we need to forget it? It's fine. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, first thing,
Chat, help out here, right?
Chat, help out. So if we're talking
please,
about
chat, help out.
let's do the first hot button topic, the wide receiver room. Do we need to fix it, or just forget it and let those guys figure it out?
I do not believe Khalil Shakir fixes the issues that you have here. Again, the NFL figures you out. The Bills got games on tape. It needs to be fixed. You got to do something here. You can't just sit on this. And now the problem is the NFL is typically a pretty low transaction organization as a whole, right? Like the Bills will be able to sign an available free agent. Maybe they'll take somebody off somebody else's practice squad, but you're carrying 4 wide receivers on your practice squad already. I think the Bills know that the wide receiver room's a problem because there's 4 receivers on your practice squad.
I will bring up 2 names that have been buzzed in the chat, and I think I have the numbers right, but Paul actually has a sleeper name for you guys. And don't kill him because of the connection on it. Okay. Just don't kill him because of the connection.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Was I talking to you or Ryan? It
wasn't me. maybe it was.
So let me see if I get the numbers right though. But I think that if the Bills want to acquire Davante Adams, I think it's around $6 million. But if they want to acquire Amari Cooper, it's like $500,000 to $600,000 for the rest of the year for his contract. So I'll have Paul fact check that. But Paul, you didn't mention to me Deontay Johnson.
No,
was that Ryan? That must have been Ryan.
That was Ryan. But Deontay Johnson, he's
a fascinating name to be talking about. Though
I totally agree. He's a little bit of an attitude problem, right? But if you're talking about Amari Cooper, Davante Adams, and Deontay Johnson, none of them are running for mayor of their town. Okay, so that's yeah. Okay.
I mean, we had Chase Claypool. He was mentioned in the chat
for a hot minute. Yeah, for a hot minute. It does make you wonder how different things would be with him, right?
Yeah,
it does make you. I know he's injured, right? I know his season's over, but.
Okay, so I like to fix it or forget it, and then this is great. The safety position, Paul. Fix it or forget it. You got Cole Bishop making his first start today. Wasn't terrible, and I know you guys are going to point to that Nico Collins touchdown. Guy was out of position. You know what? Hyde or Poyer ain't making that play either. I'm just telling you. But Cole Bishop coming up on a few of those run plays, offering run support, sniffing around the box a little bit today. Is the safety position one that they need to fix, or they need to forget it and let them gain that chemistry back there?
I think there's too many injuries to say that you can forget it, right? And the Bills were pretty adamant about adding safeties throughout the offseason. So I think, again, this was a position that they felt pretty thin at. You lose Rapp to a concussion. So hopefully that's a short-term thing, right? Hopefully he's back next week. Micah Hyde, of course, is always in the background, but Cole Bishop showed you today that coverage is a big problem. And, of course, everybody's going to say, well, just sign Micah Hyde back. Guys, if this team is going to win 8 games, like all season, like if this is what it looks like for the next 4 weeks, Hyde ain't coming back, right? Like why would he sign himself up for that?
I mean, right? if they had just coverage problems and they went 3-2, you could make the argument if they win like the next 2 games, he might just, but if this team goes 3-4 and they're getting run on all the time, what do you need Hyde for? And why would he want to come back to that? I mean, the guy, I'll be one of I'll be the small majority that says, I'm glad he's retired. I mean, that guy had so many head and neck problems. I want him to have a healthy rest of his life and enjoy the rest of his life. I'm not selfishly going to say, oh, we need him and then get on the field, dude. Like, no.
Right. Yeah. And names that are available at the safety position that are unsigned it's just not something. That's not something you want to do.
Yeah.
Right. It's just not something you want to do.
Yeah, I think Truck Review says I think Hamlin has done a great job. I respectfully disagree. I mean, he is getting a lot of tackles, and people said in the Baltimore game that Dorian Williams was making a lot of tackles. However, he was grabbing the nameplate on a lot of those guys and taking them down. So that's something that, the stats could be a little bit confusing there. But Hamlin has he has a lot of time. This is the only pro system he's ever been in. You would think that he's ahead of these guys, but quickness to the ball, anticipation just seems to be lacking a little bit at the safety position. I'm with Paul here. That I don't know what the solution is, though. I'm not going to sit here and bang the table and say, I want this guy on this team, this guy on this team, with this guy off this team. I don't know what it is because I'm not in the inner construct of the team. But just from what I've seen in 5 games, something has to be done.
Well, I mean, let's not forget, right? You got a new defensive coordinator who was previously position coaches for both the safety and the linebackers, right? Like, so as far as the safety position goes, this was something that the Bills have never really struggled with because you had Hyde and Poyer there, and your defensive coordinator was their position coach, like, and every time you tried to develop one, it never worked. Like, honestly, Damar Hamlin is the first, I guess you could call it, success story as far as a drafted player at the safety position that wasn't Hyde or Poyer. And don't get me wrong, Hyde and Poyer were stalwarts, but the Bills had injury problems at safety, and they really struggled to find anything that worked. And right now you have Taylor Rapp, Damar Hamlin, Mike Edwards, and Cole Bishop. And how bad is Mike Edwards that Cole Bishop is playing over top of him?
I think it was because people like to talk about both the safeties for the Bills being interchangeable, and I think at times they may have been with Hyde and Poyer,
right?
But I think they're more with the Babbage system. They're more well defined as a free and a strong. So I think Mike Edwards is more that free. So he's under Hamlin, and he may not. But I mean, we always talked about this before, Paul. They're going to default to the guys that they pick over the guys they acquire.
I know, but
they're always going to pick the drafted guy over the guy they acquired.
Yeah, I guess the one that kind of bothers me a little bit was Buffalo had Kareem Jackson on their practice squad. And Kareem Jackson played almost his entire career in Houston. He actually played last year in Houston. And he wasn't active today, right? He kind of rolled without him. So,
I just wanted to ask you this, Paul, real quick, as we're on the subject. Let that game play out the way it played out with Mike Edwards in for Cole Bishop. Now the discussion becomes, can the Bills draft?
Yeah.
Let Edwards let that deep ball over his head go and be like, why wasn't Cole Bishop in there? You drafted him. Why isn't he? You got to answer those questions now. You know what I mean? Clifford Franklin is always available on the waiver wire.
Perennially unsigned Clifford Franklin.
Hey, man, got some Twinkies? Fix it and forget it. So I want to go 2 levels before that, Paul. I want to talk about the defensive line. I mean, obviously, you mentioned earlier, Vaughn got suspended finally.
Yeah. I mean, I think you forget this, Mar, right? Like the defensive line just doesn't strike me as the issue here. While the team definitely missed Vaughn today, it's not like he's at a point where you need to look at a replacement for him. It's 4 games, right? You're 1 game deep on that. You got 3 more games. You lost Ed to an injury. You're hoping to get him back quickly. Him being out was kind of a surprise, right? So I think you just kind of settle with what you got right now. Now that you have Bernard back, you kind of hope that Bernard covers up some of the loss in Von Miller as far as being able to cover the ground that maybe your pass rush typically was taking time away from the QB. So I think you're hoping that you get a little bit more coverage back with Bernard there. So I don't necessarily think you're forgetting this one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'd forget it too because you have so many other needs that you have. I was shocked by the Baltimore game. Guys getting to the second level so quick onto Spector and Williams. And I was like, defensive line's not really doing their job. But what else do you have in the cabinet at this point? Like, what could you sign right now? Right. Any guys that are on the free agent wire at defensive tackle right now are there for a reason. You know what I mean? So,
right. Yeah.
I like Nicholas's comment, though. I'd love to get your take on this. Is this a hot take? But besides Allen, Bean has way more misses than hits. I think we may have did an episode on that before.
We did. Yeah, we have. Always due for a refresher, right? That's
always
a hot topic. Always a hot button topic. Yeah, I think that's every NFL GM, Mar, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think the difference is we're entering an era where your draft capital has to hit now because you are spending elite money on a left tackle, on linebackers, on defensive ends, on a quarterback. So you have to, you can't miss that receiver. You can't miss that corner because that's where you're going to try and replace talent is through the draft. I mean, Kurt Earlham has officially been a bust. You know, I don't think there's any saving that at this point. Elam's officially been a bust, and that really had to hit. And you're kind of chasing your tail. But there's a lot of positions that, you know, the Bills were entering the era of the Bills have to find talent for cheap. And the best way to do that is a draft. But I don't think that you could say that there's more misses than hits. I do think there are positions of need, and they do struggle to identify certain positions. But again, I think you probably say that about almost any NFL GM.
Yeah, I mean, if I just had to think off the top of my head, I mean, Taron Johnson is considered league wide. It's not just the Bills fans to be one of the best slot corners in the league. You know, he was drafted. And you
Paul
look
Berg
at
was at the game.
Oh, sorry.
My condolences, brother. My condolences.
And you talk about Christian Benford drafted. I think he's been a beautiful bright spot. James Cook.
Yep.
The guy's explosive, man. You talk about Dalton Kincaid. Obviously not meeting Bills fans' expectations, but our expectations, if he doesn't catch 10 balls for 280 yards a game, like, why do we draft him? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, all right. Is there any more fix it or forget it's that you can think of, Paul?
Well, I mean,
it's not limited to the field.
I think I beat the hell out of the running back thing because I'm already mad about that. So I feel like we could probably move past that one. I am going to say fix it or forget it, the quarterback room, because if Josh goes down, right, do you trust Mitch Trubisky is capable of winning a single? Let's say Mitch has to start 2 games for you, can be any 2 games on the season. Pick the 2 best games for the Bills as far as a matchup's concerned. Do you feel Mitch Trubisky can win either of those?
Well, first of all, can I just say I don't trust Mitch to cook me a hot pocket. Okay, that's number one. I don't. That's number one. Number two, I mean, if you want to look at games down the road that maybe you're at the Jets next week, you play the Titans. Titans have a really good defense. I think they have a really good defense. You got the Colts. You got the Patriots, Jets, Patriots to end the year. I mean, not to insult any of those fan bases or those teams, but of the schedule, you also have the Seahawks, who are red hot right now. You got the Chiefs, Niners, Rams, Lions. Like, do you trust them against those versus the ones I mentioned? You know, do you trust them against the Jets? Do you trust them to beat the Dolphins if they don't have Tua? You know, what the things that I'll say this. If Mitch Trubisky starts, you're clearly going to see all the things 17 covers up that's wrong with this offense.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see everything.
And not much was covered up today, Mario. Like, come on. Not much was covered up today.
He didn't play a good game. Josh will be the first one to tell you. He didn't play a good game. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't
know what you could expect, though. Right?
I don't know if it's archaic.
You have to temper expectations.
Well, though, that's the thing, though, Paul. I don't think it's archaic to think that they gave him something for his hand before the game that may cloud some of his judgment or may cloud some of the things that he does. Like, I don't know that. But it seems like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Tough go, man.
But you're right on the fact that he doesn't want to run. Like he's trying to protect himself.
9 QB runs, they're gone. Yeah,
no, they're gone.
Josh is in protect mode. But we saw this, you know, I know Joe when he did the live stream, you know, the Houston kicks that ball and Bills lose the game in the final seconds, right? But Josh Allen last year, second half Josh, right? Second half of the season, Josh Allen. Yeah. Josh Allen takes that first snap from the shotgun and he QB draws that. He runs that ball right up the middle. You know he does, right? You know he does. Because they're going to bring 4. He sees the matchup. He's like, I've got 5 guys in front of me. They got 4 guys rushing. I win the numbers game. He QB draws that first snap from shotgun on the 3-yard line in the last quarter of the game. He runs that up the middle himself. You're seeing first half Josh from last year. Remember first half Josh where they threw the ball 50 times. He stayed in the pocket. They tried to protect him the whole time. He wasn't running anywhere. And that got your offensive coordinator fired. Right? Like let's just call it for what it was, Mario. That got your offensive coordinator fired. Right? Am I wrong, dude?
No, because they want to
happened.
protect him. Like I really think that, and I made a video about it last year, that they thought he was trending toward a Cam Newton type career where he was running way too much and taking too many shots where, those things add up. You don't feel it when you're 27, 28, but when you're 32 taking a drop back and then all of a sudden you just feel this ache somewhere. That's not how that works.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I joke about it all the time now, Mar, but we're at the age where we can injure ourselves sneezing, like where you have to look for something to hold on to, like the quarterbacks probably age a little quicker than we do. With that being said, if Allen goes down, I think there's a serious case that Mike White might start over Mitch Trubisky. Like, I think there's probably a case to be made there. Not to say Mike White is incredible. Mike White has had far more positive NFL games in the last 3 seasons than Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky went down and lost his job to Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett is dreadful. He was a dreadful quarterback. He's not with the Steelers anymore. That's for sure. So, it's just one of those things, right? It's just one of those things. And I think there's a ton of miscommunication, but you have to also remember McDermott has to take accountability here because he's got a first-time defensive play caller and at this point, a seasoned offensive coordinator. While it is Joe Brady's first full year with the Bills, he was their quarterback's coach, and he had been an offensive coordinator in Carolina. So, he's not new to this, right?
No.
But clearly there's some philosophical differences with how to handle those situations. And maybe you just run into bumps like that. But the fact of the matter is this offense looks limited, right? The last 2 games, they've looked limited. And it seems to correlate around the fact that Josh just isn't in unicorn mode right now. There are times where he can do it, but those times where we've seen Josh take over a game, he's throwing that ball now instead. And Josh has a generational arm talent. Like you will talk about the arm strength of Josh Allen for the next 50 years, right? He's got generational arm talent. It's true though, Mari. That's true. Bills fans will talk about Josh Allen's arm strength for the next 50 years. But the fact of the matter is you just simply have to be better at finding windows before they're open and throwing balls with touch, because you can't just throw fastballs all the time. You're punishing receivers, and you're missing opportunities, right? And you got to be better prepared than that. The Bills offense just looked completely underprepared the last 2 games, and the offensive line has looked rough. But with that being said, you have 3 running backs there who I wouldn't trust to pick up a blitz. I'm not trusting Ty Johnson or Ray Davis or James.
Is it because they haven't been in the league long enough? Is that why you're not?
No, I don't get me wrong. Ray Davis isn't bad. I don't want to make it sound like that, right? Ty Johnson and Ray Davis aren't bad at it. James Cook is. You don't want James Cook to pick up a blitz, but Ray Davis
couldn't get it out, chat. He almost couldn't get it out.
I tried. But Ray Davis and Ty Johnson are not bad at it, but I think there's a point where you need to have you're using that fourth running back for Reggie Gilliam to play, on your special teams unit, right? And he is not going to contribute on offense. That's a wasted roster spot. That's a kickoff specialist. You got to get that out of here. Right. Yeah. You have to be better. You have to challenge yourself to be better. And if you're going to be facing a bunch of pressure packages from here on out, you cannot continue to have, in clear passing situations, you cannot continue to be running Knox and Kincaid out in routes. That's a mistake. You cannot continue to lose the 2 guys that should be able to provide you pass protection, because if you think about it, right? When was the last time you saw a Bills tight end bump and run a route? Kansas City does it. That's their bread.
They do it all the time
for 8 years, right? It's been their bread and butter for the last 8 years. Buffalo does not do that, right? And is it because Knox just simply isn't very good at it? Kincaid doesn't have the body structure for it yet. Like, that's the part of the game that takes a really long time for tight ends to mature into, is being able to set that pass block, right? Release and find the soft spots in the zone. That takes a long time for tight ends to mature into. But Buffalo is incapable of doing that. And if you have tight ends who aren't capable of doing that, you need to provide pass protection from your running backs. And the three that are there just aren't going to give you the level that you need to keep Josh safe all the time. That's just the way it is.
And especially in the last 2 weeks, what has happened is teams are figuring that out, and they're not able to do that. Two things that happen, though, why it is important, why Paul's hampering on it, guys, is the fact that you're going to widen out the split of the defensive end, number one. Number two, you're going to give the quarterback more time. You know, if you do that quick bump and you go settle in the zone, it's not a direct route now. It's not a direct route, even though your route is starting late because you have to kind of chip that guy before you leave. Right. You're opening up something for someone else, even. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Rather than bring in Anderson every time when you want to run, I mean that's what Knox and Kincaid have forced the Bills to do. Is that he's eligible? You know, they're never going to throw it to him. Like, one of Paul's dreams is a big fat guy touchdown.
I love big man touchdowns. I love big man touchdowns. Yeah, it's true though, you know.
But the fact that Knox doesn't get a target in a game where you don't have Shakir in, that's writing on the wall for me, Paul. That's
that's a great point. Absolutely great point. And that's why, you know, like, Quentin Morris was active today. Quentin Morris is more of that, I'm going to stay in and block, and I'm going to sneak out for a route. Quentin Morris fits that mold, but Quentin Morris loses every snap to Dawson Knox. Every snap. And Quentin Morris has been effective. And I think that's a dynamic the Bills are missing, because you're depending on your running back to go out there and get those routes out. Dude, you need help keeping Josh upright. Like, you need that tight end in there to block, and then sneak out for 2 yards. Like, you have to have that in your offense. It's just simply, it doesn't exist in this offense.
Well, what you're doing now, Paul, is you're seeing the limitations of a Joe Brady, where Morris and like a Latavius Murray back was in the offense prior. They're not there now. Yeah. So that's what when you need those things, you don't have them now. So maybe that's some of the limitations of Joe Brady that we need to explore, is the fact that you don't have a Morris in there. You don't have a big back that could just take. So.
Oh, my soul. Oh my God. My soul is on fire. Lee Smith.
How dare you?
Whoo. Oh goodness!
I did not have Lee Smith on my bingo card. Let's put it that way.
No, but I think Freshly Fried makes a great point here.
100%.
Character is awesome, but skills matter. Yeah,
it's exactly. Yeah, give me 53 convicts. I'll bring you a trophy. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Unfortunately,
there's big gaps you have to address, Mario. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't walk into another week of this. You know, you just can't. The pressure packages, Buffalo simply is getting outnumbered there, and I don't know the reason for that. You know, I don't think it's complicated. Everything that Houston and Baltimore did, none of it looked complicated.
No,
right? The way they're covering, none of it is complicated. I do believe that both teams took we're going to hold the hell out of the wide receivers until somebody calls something, right? Like that. That's the feeling I got. That's not an accusation, but it has felt like that the last couple games. And going back and watching the Baltimore game, that's what I saw throughout the second half of that game. Was Baltimore just said, we're going to hold the living hell out of you, and call us for it. Go ahead, it's fine. Just we'll take the holding penalty. That's fine. We'll take the holding penalty, because you're not going to get it every play, right? You're not going to get 3 first downs in a row because of defensive holding. So, go ahead. And it's frustrating. Buffalo has to go back to the drawing board here. And I hope Joe Brady feels the pressure. Can't drop 2 in a row, especially to conference teams. Absolutely. Can't do it.
I mean, those two really, like I said at the onset of the broadcast, those two are more than likely going to win their divisions. So it's not only a conference loss, it's a loss to a team that you're probably going to have a tiebreaker with at some point. And these two games were huge. I mean, like I said, the Bills had no business winning either of them, but today you could have stole one. You literally could have stolen. So
Right.
Up on the horizon for the Buffalo Bills, you have the Jets and Titans, which are, I mean, you can go not easily from the way they've been playing, but you could be 4-2 in the conference before you have to go to Seattle. Then you come back and you play a divisional conference game against the Dolphins. Then you play at the Colts, and then you're home versus the Chiefs before your bye, which is on.
Yeah.
I believe
Joe Flacco might not give that job back in Indianapolis.
No, elite Joe.
He might
Flacco,
not give that job back.
You mean elite Joe Flacco?
Elite Joe Flacco may not give that job back. Joe Flacco, God, you know what? I'm gonna get stoned for this. I'm gonna say it though. Future Hall of Famer Joe Flacco. It's gonna happen, guys. It's
He's
gonna
got
happen.
2 rings, doesn't he?
It's got more than we do.
Yes.
That's for sure.
He definitely.
Yeah.
Nobody has more than J-Lo though.
No, she collects them like souls. Collects them like souls. Yeah, I want you to imagine a universe, Mario, where the Bills lose to the Jets. Right?
I can imagine that universe.
Yeah,
I had a talk with
that
Dr. Strange the other day, and he told me that the Jets only beat the Bills 1 out of 14 million. Especially with funny story. I put in the group chat today. I said a friend of mine who's a Jets fan. He sends a message. Rodgers was better last year.
Yeah, I think he threw 3 picks. I think he threw 3 picks today. Yeah,
he did, and the third one, since when they were coming back, they were trying to come back and score. But where's the pre-snap motion? Yo, we're asking that question ourselves, dude. Paul, we do not know where the pre-snap motion has went.
I mean, there's pre-snap motion, so let's just qualify that, right? Because there is pre-snap motion on a lot of snaps, but all it often is the running back takes 3 steps to the right, and then they're like, okay, it's man. It's one of those. There's no deceptive motion, and I think part of that is when they do run motion, it's obvious. Like they did it today on a screen to Samuel, right? Like it was clear and obvious they were screening it to Samuel.
Yeah.
He
almost has that McKenzie aura about him when he comes in the game.
Oh God, I know, but that's what I mean. He's got such low snap count. He's only taken, prior to this game, he had taken 68 snaps on offense all season. Played less than 30% of your offensive.
What
snaps.
Did you pay him for?
Right,
to be in the receiver room when you're not in there with him.
Right,
right. Is he coaching too?
Matt Collins has almost double the snaps that Curtis Samuel has had. Almost double. Yeah.
Is that a matchup thing that they're thinking because he's just bigger, or what? Like, what do we?
I'm pretty confident that some teams didn't know that Matt Collins could catch a football prior to this season. Some teams still might not think that he can.
They'll leave him open.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
it is interesting though. Josh Allen still interceptionless, isn't he?
He is. He didn't throw any.
He didn't throw any today.
No, he didn't throw any today. He didn't throw much today.
Well, he threw a lot, just not many to Bills players that were caught. Yeah, no, I'm pretty confident on the year. Josh still doesn't have any interceptions. Let me check that real quick.
Not many connected. No.
Nope. Josh is 2024. Yeah, no interceptions. 7 touchdowns, according to ESPN.
That's pretty good. No picks. 3-2. I think Stroud last year in his rookie season went like 185 passes before he threw his first one. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think
the other interesting stat as well. So listen to this, right? So Josh in week 1 against Arizona was sacked twice. Against Miami and Jacksonville, he wasn't sacked at all. Of course, you and I have been talking since, in my opinion, when Josh broke his hand, right?
Yes. Yes.
So was that in Jacksonville? Was that
was
Jacksonville?
Arizona. That was week
That was
one.
the Arizona game. It was week 1.
Mhm.
Okay. So the last 3 weeks or last 2 weeks, Josh has been sacked 4 times. Now today, Josh only there was only 1 sack on Josh, but they were close all day, right?
Oh,
Like
they were all around him.
they were in the kitchen on him all day long. And that sack total is not representative of the pressure he felt, right? And people are going to bag on Spencer Brown. I think Spencer Brown's doing a fine job. You know, you start bargain basement shopping for guards, right? Because we talked about it with the wide receiver room, talked about it with the cornerback room, talked about it with safeties. When you're paying positional players, you have to bargain basement shop somewhere, and you signed a guard and moved him to center, and then you drafted a guard, right? Like you're bargain basement shopping for guards. That's what you're doing. And
really
I think the last 2 games, again, I don't want to speak negatively of the offensive line play, right? Because it is a numbers game on blitz packages, but the guard play has looked weak to me at times, right?
Mhm.
It just looks like Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins are just on an island all by themselves, you know, like and I feel bad for them in that respect.
It's tough too if the D coordinator has the offensive number. You know what I mean? If they're blitzing on certain plays where you're 4 wide, you know what I mean, and they're able to push your receivers around. I mean, and he has to hold the ball an extra second. Normally, when you'd be like, okay, he's got 3 seconds to get this ball out, I'm counting in my head as I'm blocking.
Yeah,
and it's not out. But they have to also be very cognizant of the fact that you have Josh Allen back there who can, at any point, just take off.
Right. So, well, and also I think it's important just to remember the fundamentals of football, right? You talk about a quarterback climbing the pocket, right? Like when you're in the pocket, you want a quarterback as he's in there, you want to climb the pocket, right? You take those steps further and further away from the defensive ends, right? And sort of find the gaps from where those defensive tackles were. Josh isn't able to do that right now. You know, like that pocket is literally just folding around him. Where he's taking that snap, that's the only space he's going to get. There's no climbing the pocket. It's just it doesn't exist with the way this pass protection is working right now, and that's a huge thing. That is a huge problem that has to be addressed. I don't think you're making a position change. I don't think the nameplate of any of the offensive linemen changes going into next week. But the pass protection's been bad, and it's not been Dawkins and it's not been Spencer Brown. It's just as a unit. They're not buying the time for their quarterback as he needs it. And again, like he's getting a pocket, but it's quickly wrapping around him. It's like a Venus flytrap, you know, like he's there, but there's just nowhere to go.
True. So hopefully we're going to have some a lot better news for you guys next week as the Buffalo Bills travel to MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. Then they come home 1 o'clock once again, and they play the Titans. Exciting news to tell you guys as we close out this broadcast. Special thanks to the sponsor, Mr. Rogers Homes and BetDSI. The Buffalo Bills will play home versus the Chiefs, and then the following week, I think it's Thanksgiving weekend, Paul. They're on a bye. Do you want to tell them or should I? What's happening?
I don't know.
On the bye week.
Yeah, I don't know. You could tell them.
Okay. Your boys are back in the car.
So,
we're going to have some topics and some discussions for you. So we're going to be back in the vehicle for you guys to give you some of our takes while enjoying some coffee. But we're back. We're getting back in the cars. Our kids are getting older. I'm kicking, all of them out of the house, and then we're going to be driving around. So,
but we just rented a U-Haul.
Yeah, we did.
They just rented a U-Haul. Yeah,
and I padded it up. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, so, there's chips in the back, kids.
Yeah. So, guys, for Paul, I'm Mario. This is hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the Houston Texans post game. Heartbreaking loss for the Buffalo Bills, but you got a lot of young names on this defense that played pretty darn well today, and hopefully, we'll serve them well coming up in the future. So, you guys take it easy. We're out of here.